Okay, so we might have seen. So good morning, students. The last class we have discussed about chains and anti-chains, right? So we have seen the definition of a chain. Then anti-chain, what is meant by quickly chain? Any two elements are comparable, and anti-chain means no two elements are comparable. Then we have checked examples, and we have defined what is meant by a maximal chain. So a chain is maximal if no other elements from poset is no other element from poset is comparable with every element of this. That means you cannot put any more element into that set so that it is still a chain. That's why it is called a maximal chain. Then we have seen some examples, and after that we have defined what is meant by a largest chain or maximum chain. So largest chain means it is whatever chairs are there, in that it is the largest one in number of elements and so on, right? So we have seen maximum always implies maximal, but it does not imply. And I asked you for so you might have seen so many here, just two elements set here. These are all maximal set, maximal chain. This 1 comma 5 is a maximal chain, we have seen, right? But it is not maximum, because you can you have a here some set which is maximal and so on, right? So you have to take the largest, even though this is maximal, this is maximal, but this is not maximum because it is not the largest chain. These are all already largest chains are available. Okay. Okay. Now we will go through the next lecture. Today we will discuss about. So today we are going to discuss about. I can call it. We will start actually. Today we will see at the end of lecture what is meant by lattice. Okay. So in this, to start or define a lattice, first we will define few definitions. You can see, right, while I'm writing. Can you see whether I'm okay? Okay, good. Uh, so we will try to define two important elements which require for lattice. So suppose you start with P, okay, and this one is a poset. You start with this and take, suppose H is a subset of P. Then, and if you want, you consider some element A in that poset. Now we say that this A is called an upper bound, for this H, for the set H. If this you all might be knowing already, what should be your guess? What should be the definition? Should be for upper bound, that if you take any x, suppose call it x, x should be less than or equal to A for every x in this H. So if you take any element in H, that should have this relation, x should be less than or equal to A. So then we say that A is an upper bound. Similarly, you can define what is meant by lower bound. Now we go to next definition, that is least upper bound. Okay, least upper bound. So this least upper bound means, or you can call it supremum, right? SUP also you can denote. You take this H, then we say that this A, whatever you call it A, belongs to P, is called supremum of H, supremum of H, if, what should be the definition? First of all, this A, first of all you can say that this A, first of all A should be a upper bound. Okay, A is an upper bound. We will write simply UB. A is an upper bound of this H. We already seen the above just now what is meant by upper bound. Then second one, this should be the least among all upper bounds. That means if I call it B is an upper bound of H, Then what should be the relation between A and B? What should be the relation between A and B? To say yes, then A should be less than or equal to B. Then we can say that this, okay, then we can, if whenever this is satisfied, this is most important, that among all upper bounds this should be the smallest one. Then we can call it that as a least upper bound, or we can give notation. So we give a notation for this least upper bound or supremum. We will call it A is equal to supremum of this H, or we will also denote A is equal to this symbol. We will define that later. At present you can call it this as just like union, but it is this V symbol. Okay, this is the notation for least upper bound or supremum. Is that clear? Now analogy, what you can do is you can define what is meant by, you can define here similarly, you can define. So similarly we can define, here we have defined supremum, we can define infimum of H. Okay, or that is also denoted by this one. These two notations are most important for any subset. We can define what is meant by supremum and infimum if at all it exists. Is that clear? Is definition clear? We'll see some examples and all, but this is need to be understood that you take a poset and you take any subset, an element of the poset is called this upper bound. So this will be an upper bound for that H if X should be less than or equal to A for every X in H. We are not saying for every X in P, right? So we are taking a subset and we are taking an element from that poset. Then we are asking whether, what can you say about whether every element of that H is less than or equal to this or not. Are you following? Then you can define least upper bound. Among all upper bounds, it should be the least. That means A should be less than or equal to B whenever B is an upper bound of H. The same concept you can define for infimum, or you can call it what you can call it. What is the name of that? This is called, yes, greatest lower bound. So among all lower bounds, whatever greatest we have, that you can call it this as infimum or this notation, right? And fine. Now, why these elements are useful and so on is, if you take a lattice, we will define now what is meant by lattice, and we already know some examples of posets. We'll see when a poset will become lattice. Okay, so let's have some different color just to define. Now we are ready to define what is our meant by lattice. So you take a poset P, a poset P with this relation is called a lattice, is called a lattice if infimum of two elements A comma B as well as an supremum of A comma B. Infimum as well as supremum of these two elements exists for every A comma B in, for every A comma B in P. So you take a poset, then for any two elements there should exist minimum as well as supremum as well as infimum. These two should exist. Then, and if it is true for any pair of two elements, then we say that that poset is a lattice. If there are two elements, first suppose for that two elements there is no infimum, then that poset is not a lattice. Okay, similarly there are two elements for which there is no supremum, then for that also it is not a lattice. So let's understand this concept with an example, then we can have better understanding. Okay, write some examples. So in few before lectures, we have earlier lecture we have seen how you can denote some notation also, lattice notation. So you take a poset. So I'll write here 0 comma a. Okay, this is one pair. So this pair means 0 is related with a like that, right? And a is above, 0 is below like that. Then I'll also write here 0 comma b. Okay, then 1 comma a and 1 comma b. So what is meaning of this? It has elements, right? Can we draw this as a diagram so that we can understand better? Because 0 and a are related, so a is above this 0 and similarly b is also above this 0. So somehow I will put it here something like a here and b here. Because 0 and a are related, you can put an edge between them. Similarly 0 and b are related, we can put an edge between them. And 1 sorry, here you have to write a comma 1. Okay, so there is a mistake here. So what you do here is, so we will remove this. And we'll write one more. Here what you have to take here is a comma 1 and b comma 1. So a and 1 are related, but a is below and 1 is above. So I can write here. So there will be this. So if you want, I will round off this so that you can understand better. Then similarly b and 1 is also there. Only these four relations are there. Okay, now you can check that this is a lattice. Okay, why this is a lattice? You can check that transitivity, all those things are there. uh, Here 0 and 1 are related, right? Now whether it is a lattice, whether it is a lattice, what is meant by lattice? If you take any two elements, then they should have a infimum as well as supremum. ha, ha. See here, you have to take this this 0 comma 1, this 0 comma a and a comma 1 is there. So 0 comma 1, we have not yet defined the Hasse diagram, just for your understanding, right? So there is no, you no need to put this line here. By transitivity it is gone, right? Okay, so now why this is a lattice? If you take these two elements, then for these two, what is infimum? What is infimum of these two lines, these two elements? For example, if I take this a and b, for these two elements, what is the infimum? That means what is the greatest lower bound available for a and b? Hmm? What is an element in this poset for which this a and b, the element act as a greatest lower bound? 0 is a lower bound for these two or not? Here 0 is less than or equal to, 0 is less than or equal to a, as well as 0 is less than or equal to b, right? So therefore 0 is a lower bound, but there is no other element which is again a lower bound for these two elements, right? So obviously this is a greatest lower bound for this. So you can call it 0 is nothing but greatest lower bound of a comma b, or you can call it infimum of a comma b, right? Similarly, what is infimum of supremum of for a comma b? What is supremum for a comma b? 1 is the supremum of these two elements a comma b, right? Now if I take a comma 0, okay, so if I take a comma 0, or I can call it suppose 0 comma a, what is infimum of a, this 0 comma a, and what is supremum of 0 comma a? For these two elements 0 and a is there. For this, what is infimum of 0 comma a? Think until it is not a problem. Very good. 0, because 0 is a upper bound for these two, lower bound for these two, right? Are you following? Because 0 is less than or equal to 0 and 0 is less than or equal to a, so therefore 0 is a, lower bound, and that is the only lower bound for these two elements. Are you following? Right? Whether A is a lower bound for 0? No, because A is not less than or equal to 0. Right? What is supremum of these two? Is A is the supremum. Are you following? Right. So what you can observe here as a remark, you can write remark is that if A is less than or equal to B, then okay, what is infimum of A comma B and what is supremum of A comma B? What is this one? A is nothing but the infimum and B is nothing but the supremum. Is this clear? Right? Okay. Now if you take 0 and 1, 0 for 0 and 1, 0 is the 0 is infimum and 1 is supremum. Right? So you can see that any two elements are comparable. Any two elements, if you take for them, supremum as well as infimum exist. So therefore, what you can observe here is, therefore this P, you can conclude that this P is a, therefore this P whatever we have defined earlier is a lattice. Okay. Now you can, if you start removing some elements from here, then it is not a lattice. Can you give some example, example 2 which is not a lattice from the same that set? That means you, can you give some subposet which is not a lattice of this P? What is meant by subposet? We should take some fewer elements satisfying that same relation, right? Okay. So I will take A comma, that 0 comma A and 0 comma B. Suppose if I take my Q, okay, which is simply 0 comma A, 0 comma B. Obviously it is a subset of P, which is a poset, you can check, right? Now is, question is Q a lattice? Okay, or sublattice if you want, you can call it. Is it a sublattice? Why? So you have A, B, 0 here, right? And you have this relation. This is your poset, right? We have denoted here, right? Now infimum exists, but supremum does not exist. So this is not a lattice, or you can call it sublattice, as supremum of this A comma B, right, does not exist in Q, right? Therefore it is not a lattice. Is this clear? So if you have a poset, then when a poset will become, a lattice if every two elements, if you take any two elements, if you take, they should have supremum as well as infimum. Okay. Then we say that poset is a lattice, otherwise it is not a lattice, right? So if you observe quickly, by default obviously every lattice is a poset or not? Lattice is obviously a poset which have extra condition. What is that extra condition? That infimum and supremum of any two elements should exist. Are you following? Okay. Now what we define is, there is something called, if you have a poset, there is something called dual poset. Okay. So we will discuss something about duality. So what is the meaning of this duality or dual poset, you can call it? So start with P and this, if it is a poset, you start with a poset, right? Then we will define another relation. Okay. So define, take two elements A and B, define A is greater than or equal to B if, what should be the guess? A is greater than or equal to B is same as, like B is less than or equal to A with respect to these terms or not, right? So whatever known thing we will define, we are saying that whenever B is less than or equal to A, then this we will call it this relation A is related to B if B is less than or equal to A. Are you following what we have defined now? Just now we have defined another relation that A is greater than or equal to B if B is less than or equal to A. It is just like mirroring, right? Mirror image. Okay, fine. Any problem? Now with respect to this, you can check that you take this P. Okay, you can simply take an exercise. You can easily check that this P together with this relation, okay, also satisfies those three poset conditions. So is a poset. What is meant by poset? What conditions you have to check? What conditions we have to check for a poset? It should be reflexive, then antisymmetric and transitive, right? So A is greater than or equal to A is clear because we already have a poset. Remember, you have already a poset. Given a poset, we are trying to get another poset, right, with this relation. Now what is another one? Suppose we want to have A is greater than or equal to B and B is greater than or equal to A. Then we want to show that A is equal to B. But what is meant by A is greater than or equal to B? By definition, we have B is less than or equal to A and A is less than or equal to B. So therefore, by antisymmetric of this relation, what you get here is A is equal to B. Is this clear? Similarly, you can prove it transitivity. It is not a problem. So therefore, it is a poset. This is called this P comma this one is called dual poset. You can say that this is a whenever you have P with this relation, if this is a poset, then this is also poset. You can call it as dual poset. Is this clear? Why we require this one is the following. Whenever we want to, let me take this color, so we can write here. If some statement is true for this poset, then that statement is also true for this dual poset. Okay, that is called dual property. So dual, you can call it principle. So what is meant by this dual principle? It says that if a statement phi is true, okay, is true for all posets, then its dual is also then dual of phi is also true for all posets. So let's understand what is the meaning of this. First of all, what is meant by dual of some statement? Huh? So if I say that A is less than or equal to B, then what is dual of this one? Yes. So if your statement is your phi, call it suppose A is less than or equal to B, then what is dual of phi is nothing but A is greater than or equal to B. That is the dual of this statement. Is that clear? That means we are actually replacing this one, right? Now what we are saying here is that whenever some you take a poset, right? If some statement is true for every poset, then we are saying that its dual is also true. Is this clear? What is the advantage of this one is that why this duality is important. Now you go back to this sets here, infimum and supremum. Okay, so this definition we have defined infimum and supremum. So if this A, if A is a supremum of H with respect to this relation, right? If A is a supremum of H with respect to this relation, then if I change my this relation, then what is this A will become? So you consider a poset. If something is a supremum in that poset, then that same element will become infimum when you consider the dual. Are you following? Because for example here you can see that we said that 0 is greatest lower bound for this A and B, right? And 1 is the least upper bound for this A and B. So you try to see this one, this statement with respect to what relation? Here relation is what? Less than or equal to. Are you following? So if I say this for greater than or equal to, then what is this relation will become? Huh? What is the relation if I consider this greater than or equal to, then what is greatest lower bound of A comma B with respect to this relation? For this A and B, that means what you should have? Hmm? This 1 will become now greatest lower bound and 0 will become, huh? Are you following? This is just like a mirror image. You try to see it here. Are you following? Least upper bound of A comma B. Why this one is true? First of all, why is 1 is a lower bound? Just try to see this picture, it will be inverted. Okay, so whatever you assume that in place of this now, because what is meant by saying A is greater than or equal to B in according to our notation, that if B is less than or equal to E, right? So here we know that this 1 is greater than or equal to, whether 1 is, what can you say about 1? 1 and A, what is the relation? What is the relation between 1 and A? That A is less than or equal to 1, right? A is less than or equal to 1, so therefore you can call it 1 is greater than or equal to A or not? So whatever we have the relation, if you replace it, you will get dual. So just like you try to invert this one, you try to reverse this picture as a mirror shape, then whatever you are going to visualize, that is called dual. Are you following? Okay. So what is the advantage of this is that if you know this already infimum of two elements, then in a dual you know supremum. Are you following? So whatever you have here, this element, now it has become, here it is greatest lower bound, now this has become least upper bound. Are you following? In its dual, right? So if you know something about infimum, then definitely this will be supremum in its dual. If you know infimum, then it is supremum in its dual, right? So what is the advantage of having dual is that if something is true in your poset, then its dual of this statement is true, right? So therefore the whatever, if you know about, if GLB exists, then in its dual greatest lower bound whenever exists, then lower bound also exists, which is same as that element. Is this clear? Have you seen the relation? Right? So if you know that this exists for any two elements, so if we prove that if you take two elements, then for any two elements, if I say suppose the infimum exists, then can I say that supremum also exists? Because of its dual, I can say it or not? So let me repeat again. What is this dual statement? Dual statement is very important and useful, which says that if some statement is true for all posets, then dual of the statement is also true for all posets. Are you following? Right? Now what we are going to give a statement which is very useful. First let me write that statement and we will see how we use this. The first theorem in our lattice theory, I can call it, that we will give an equivalent definition. A poset P with this notation is called a lattice, is a lattice if and only if and only if, by definition, what is meant by lattice? By definition, lattice means if you take any two elements, their infimum and supremum should exist for any two elements, right? Okay, fine. Now we will give little more generalized statement. Instead of checking for any two elements, it is enough if we check for you take any finite subset of this. Then infimum and supremum of that finite subset exist, then we are done. Are you following? So that is better and easy to verify compared to any two elements. So if and only what is this statement? Infimum of H and supremum of H exists for all, or you can call it for every finite subset. Okay. For every finite is important, for every finite subset of H, for every finite subset of P. Okay, for every finite subset H, okay, of P. So that means to check whether our poset is a lattice or not, it is enough if we check that you take any finite subset of that. If infimum and supremum of that set exist, then we can say that it is a lattice, right? Clearly, let's have a quick proof. So let's prove this. Now, how we will use this dual statement? It is enough if we prove that. First, we will prove that infimum of H. Assume that so start with this P comma this. Okay. Suppose assume that it is a lattice. Start with this is a lattice, and also H is a finite subset. Finite subset. Now, what we want to prove? Our claim is infimum of H and supremum of H should exist. Is this clear? Because we have started with an assume that our poset is a lattice, then H we have taken as a finite subset. We want to prove that this H is actually for this H infimum and supremum exist. So what is our claim? Our claim is that infimum of H and supremum of H exists. That means we should able to say that some element is there which is infimum and some other element is there which is supremum. Are you following? Now we don't prove both. We will prove any one. The other automatically it will prove the other. Why? Because of dual statement. What is dual statement says? So assume that we might have prepared the first infimum of H. We will only prove this. Then you can see that it automatically guarantees that supremum of H exists. Why? Can somebody tell why it is? Try to understand. If infimum of H exists for every finite subset, then you consider its dual. If we consider its dual, P comma the other one greater than or equal to, that is also a lattice, right? So for that lattice also, because H is a finite subset, for that finite subset, infimum exists or not, right? But that is same as supremum of H for, with respect to this relation. This dual statement says that whenever something is true for all posets, its dual of that statement is also true for all posets. So infimum and supremum, what we know about infimum and supremum? This and this, right? Whatever is there, this relation, one corresponds to infimum, the other corresponds to supremum. So they are clearly, one is nothing but the dual of the other. Are you following? Are you following what are these two relations? If you have difficulty, you tell. What is this? One is the dual of the other or not? If you call it less than or equal to, and the other one is greater than or equal to. So one is the dual of the other, right? So with respect to this, if at all infimum exists, then that same element will be supremum with respect to this relation or not? Are you following? So that means, let me write clearly so that you will have proper understanding. If I say that this A is infimum of H, but with respect to this relation, okay, then this A will become supremum of H when you consider this or not. This A will become supremum of H with respect to this relation. Are you following? So if whenever this is true, if this is true, then this is true. Are you following? Whether you can able to visualize now what I am saying? When you change the relation, then that will become supremum. So that is, and if this is your statement, then this is nothing but the dual of statement or not, right? So whenever if something is true for every poset, then it is true for its dual also. So if we show that infimum exists for every finite subset, then definitely supremum also exists for that set. Is this clear? Right? Because of this dual principle. So dual principle, we use it mainly. Okay. Go and prove this one. So it is enough. So what we can write here, by duality principle, by duality principle, it is enough to prove anyone, say infimum of H exists. So we will prove this. Is this clear? If we can prove that infimum of H exists for every finite subset of a poset, then by applying the dual principle, it also true for supremum of H also exists. Is this clear? Fine. Now how we will prove this? Infimum of H, how it exists? If at all our H, if at all our H is a singleton set, suppose I call it A, or if it is a two element set, suppose call it some B comma C, then we are already done. Why we are already done? What is assumed to us? P is a lattice, right? P is a lattice and H is a subset of that one. That means we know already any two elements are comparable, any two elements have infimum as well as supremum, right? So this set is actually only either a singleton set. Then for if it is a singleton set, then infimum as well as supremum is same. It is same element or not? Now if H is equal to B comma C, then infimum exists as well as supremum exists, because this set contains only two elements. Are you following? Because of our assumption that we have assumed our P is a, we have assumed that our P is a lattice. Just a second. Okay. So you can see that because we have assumed, one second. Just charging I am doing. Okay. One second. uh, there is a small disturbance. Now let me quickly go through it proof once again. So start with P comma F, which is a lattice. So this is a lattice. So what is meant by lattice? If any two elements are given, we know its supremum and infimum exist or not? Exist, right? Is that clear? Hello? So by definition of a lattice, we know that supremum of any two elements exists. Similarly, infimum of any two elements exists. Now start with H, which is any finite subset. We want to show that its infimum as well as supremum exist. But if it is already H is a singleton array, two element set, then infimum exists or not? By definition, because these two elements are there, definitely infimum of that and supremum of that exist by definition. Now start with, suppose we'll try to prove by induction. So suppose H is a three element set. If we can understand three element set, then we can do it for any n finite set. So suppose H is ABC. Now what we want to show? For this set, infimum exists, right? So we want to prove that infimum of this H exists. Definitely there should be some element. How we use this? The idea is very simple, because we know for two elements infimum exists, right? So we will call it, let D is infimum of the two elements A comma B, okay? And you take another one and E, which is infimum of the D comma C, okay? So I repeat again, take three elements. For three elements, first what you have to do is find out infimum of any two elements, say first two elements. Then what we are finding? We are finding infimum of that element together with the third element. Is this clear? So if you want to understand what is your set E, your set E is nothing but infimum of D, which is infimum of A comma B, then C, right? So if we have three elements, you take any two elements, then find first its infimum. Then whatever you got that element, along with that element, and you taking the another element, you find its infimum. Okay, is that clear? What is our E? Is that clear? E is, first take two elements A and B, find infimum, that is D. Okay, then we are taking D comma C, for that we are finding infimum E. Now tell me whether D and E exist or not. Why D and E, such D and E exist? Hmm? Can somebody tell why such D and E exist? Respond. Why such D and E exist? What is the guarantee that such D and E are there for us? Hmm? What is given to us? What is given to us? Any two elements if we take, because it is a lattice, so if we take any two elements, their infimum always exists or not? Therefore, infimum of A and B definitely exists, that we are calling it as D, and infimum of D comma C, this is an element and we are finding infimum with another element, these two exist. So by definition, so this D and E exists as our P is a lattice. Because of lattice condition, we can deal with every time with two elements. If there are two elements, we can guarantee that infimum and supremum exist, right? Now what we are going to prove is that whatever this E is nothing but our infimum of H. So what is our E? It is very simple. If H is three element set, then infimum of that H is nothing but E, which is find infimum of two elements, then whatever you get that element, find infimum of the remaining element, right? It is a continuous process. So we want to prove that E is infimum of H. Up to here, is that clear? If you are not following, you try to ask, is this, we have not yet proved that E is infimum of H, but how we have proceeded? You take any three elements set H, then consider first two elements, which you call it as, suppose take these two elements, then D is nothing but infimum of those two elements, we know it exists because it is a lattice. After that, whatever D you have, for that D and C, you find again infimum. If it is four element set, how you can do it? You can find 3 element set, then find the infimum, and after that whatever is remaining you can do it, because for 3 we are going to prove that infimum exists, right? Now what is meaning of proving that E is a infimum of H? What are all we have to prove? E is infimum of H is same as proving that what? Hmm? First thing we want to prove that E is a lower bound, right? First E is a lower bound and E is greatest. E is also greatest lower bound. Are you following? Okay. So what is meant by saying that E is lower bound of H? E should be less than or equal to each and every element which is having here, right? But what we know about E? E is infimum of what? D comma C. So we will write whatever is known to us, because E is equal to infimum of D comma C. So E is not only a lower bound, it is a greatest lower bound. So what you get here is E is less than or equal to D, and also E is less than or equal to C. Is this clear? Similarly, what we know about D? Also, D is nothing but infimum of A comma B. So this implies what we get from relation D is less than or equal to A. Are you following? And D is also less than or equal to B. D is a lower bound for A and B, right? Now using transitivity, can you prove something? Hmm? Our idea is to show that E is a lower bound. That means what? What is meant by saying E is a lower bound? We want to show that E is less than or equal to B, E is less than or equal to, sorry, E is less than or equal to A, E is less than or equal to C. Is this clear? Here E is less than or equal to C, we already proved it. We have to only say that E is less than or equal to A and E is less than or equal to B. So by these two steps, whether it is clear or not? Huh? By seeing these two steps, whether E is less than or equal to A, whether E is less than or equal to A or not? Why E is less than or equal to A? If you consider these two, by transitivity property, what you have here is E is less than or equal to A. Similarly, by considering this, what you get here is not this one, this and this, right? If you consider these two, what you will get here is E is less than or equal to, are you following? So E is less than or equal to A, E is less than or equal to B, and E is less than or equal to C. Therefore, you can conclude that E is a lower bound for our set H. Now, what we want to show? We want to show that if at all any other lower bound is there, then E is the greatest lower bound. Is this clear? So start with, let, I will call it F, be a lower bound for H. What is meaning of saying that F is a lower bound of H? Huh? What is meant by saying F is a lower bound of H? F less than or equal to A, F is less than or equal to B, and F is also less than or equal to C, right? Now what, because every time you should know what we want to prove, then we will get it by known data. Our aim is to now what we want to prove, because we have taken F as a lower bound and we know already E is a lower bound. Our aim is to show that E is greatest lower bound, right? So somehow we want to show that E is less than or equal to, our aim F is less than or equal to A. This is our idea, right? Our idea to prove is that F is less than or equal to E. If we prove, then E will become greatest lower bound or not, right? So what, how we can get relation between F and E? How we can get relation between F and E? What we know about E? What we know about E? See here, what is E? E is a not only just a lower bound, it is what? Greatest lower bound of these two elements. Are you following? So if at all I want to show that F is less than or equal to E, where E is greatest lower bound, it is enough to prove what? If we can prove that this F is a lower bound of D and C, are you following? If we can prove that F is a lower bound of D as well as C, then because E is greatest lower bound, you will get F is less than or equal to E or not, right? Hmm? So F, we want to show this, right? So we should get some relation between F and E. We know that E is greatest lower bound of these two elements. So if at all we find any element which is lower bound of these two elements, then E is bigger than that or not. So to show that F is less than or equal to E, this is same as saying, proving that we will prove that F is a lower bound of the set D comma C, right? If we can prove that F is a lower bound of D comma C, then because E is the greatest among all lower bounds, we get that F is less than or equal to C. So this is our idea. This we want to keep in mind and get relation for F. Okay. Now tell me why F is less than or equal to D and F is less than or equal to C is already here. F is less than or equal to C is already there or not? This we have already have, right? We have to only prove that F is less than or equal to D. Why F is less than or equal to D? Huh? 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 Very good, very good, very good. So you have this relation for F, A, B, and there is another element which also has some relation with D, A comma B, right? So by considering these two, F less than or equal to A and F is less than or equal to B, what you can conclude that F is a lower bound. F is a lower bound for this set A comma B, right? Now when you have a lower bound for this A comma B, we know that D is the greatest lower bound, right? So since D is greatest, that means infimum of A comma B. What is relation between D and F? F is a lower bound, D is greatest among all lower bounds. So what you will get here is F is less than or equal to, right? Are you following? So we have proved that F is less than or equal to C. So therefore just now what we have proved, F is less than or equal to C and F is also less than or equal to D. This implies F is a lower bound, okay, for the set C comma D. But what we know, what is infimum of C comma D? Hmm? This is nothing but our E. E is our infimum, okay, and that means it is the greatest lower bound and F is a lower bound. So what you can write here? From this what you can write? Because E is greatest, what we get is that F is less than or equal to E, right? So we have proved that F is less than or equal to E, okay? So if you see, what we have proved is this, F is less than or equal to E, right? Now go back, what we know about F and E? F is one lower bound of H and E we proved that it is a lower bound of H, right? E is a lower bound of H and we started with F, any lower bound of H, we proved that F is less than or equal to E. That shows that therefore E is greatest lower bound for H, right? That is same as saying that E is equal to infimum of H. So we proved that this element is infimum or not. For any three element set if we take, then what is the infimum? Is actually take infimum of two elements and whatever you get that one, for that you take again infimum with C, right? Are you following? Now just for your understanding, if I start with four elements, of course you can say by induction you can get it, but just understand A1, A2, A3, A4. How we will proceed this? How we can say that infimum exists for this? Hmm? How we can prove this? You take infimum of this set. Are you following? So I'll just call it, suppose I will call it another set, I will write K as A1, A2, A3. Then infimum of this exists or not? Just now what we have proved? Then what we have proved is that infimum of K exists. Are you following? because it is a 3 element set, right? Then what should be your infimum for H? This is an element, you can call it some alpha. Then obviously infimum of H, you can prove it as infimum of this alpha together with the fourth element which is remaining is this. Is this clear? Are you following? So if you have any n set, how you can do it? So if your H is A1, A2 up to AN, then what you have to do? You take a set, then we know that you consider K one element less than this, A1, A2 up to AN minus 1, right? Then what should be your infimum? So if you want, you can call it this as a let. Okay, then obviously infimum of this K exists by previous thing. Okay, so then infimum of H exists, which is equal to infimum of what you have to write here? Huh? You want this infimum of K, if you call it that as beta, suppose it's fine, or you write like this. Is this clear? Are you following? What is the trick? Whenever you have 5 elements, suppose, then take the 4 elements, any 4 elements, you will get definitely infimum, and you find the infimum with remaining element. Are you following? So this shows that if H is any, therefore for any finite set H, for any finite set H, infimum of H exists. Okay, then we don't need to prove by duality. So then by duality, supremum of H also exists. Why this supremum also exists? The dual means relation is reversed, right? Okay, so in that posets you consider all dual posets you consider. So in all dual posets, because infimum exists, that infimum is nothing but actually supremum of the original poset. Are you following? So you just what you should understand is infimum of some poset should act as supremum of dual poset. Are you following? The infimum of a poset actually acts as a supremum of its dual poset, right? So if infimum exists here, their supremum exists. That is same as saying that infimum and supremum exist here, right? But that should be true for all. That is why we proved that for any finite set it is true. So therefore its dual principle is also true. By duality you can say that supremum of H also exists. You can prove it also, there is no problem. You can exercise is that, so you take your exercise is that for this set H, everyone try to prove it, don't copy it. Take H is equal to ABC, right? Show that supremum of H exists. What is meant by supremum of H exists? How you will prove it? Take two elements supremum, okay, then another whatever you are getting supremum of those two elements, try to show that that is your supremum. Is this clear? Whatever we did it for infimum, you try to prove it for that same set supremum also exists. So tomorrow if you are not getting this one, I will explain. It is very simple. What you have to do, you take two elements, suppose you call it D and E, whatever you called earlier. D is nothing but what? Supremum of A comma B, and what is this E? Supremum of this D together with remaining element which is C. Is this clear? Then show that, so your claim is show that E is nothing but supremum of, okay, these are the details. So we'll see tomorrow if you have any difficulty, and we go further details of this lattice.